It was late. You had just finished something good. Not something anyone paid you for. Something that was yours. A page. A rep. A number that finally moved. A small, private proof that the last 6 months were not a waste. And before your hands were even off it, they were reaching for your phone. The feeling was maybe 4 seconds old. You had not finished having it yet. Your hand was already moving. You did not unlock it to call anyone. You know you didn't. You unlocked it to scan, to check who was still awake, to see whose name sat at the top of that list, and whether that name would have understood what you had just done. Then you turned the screen face down. You told yourself you didn't care, and you went to bed. That is the moment, not the work, the reach. Everyone in your life has agreed on the same diagnosis for you. They think your problem is that the room is empty. They think you got left, and that the damage is the leaving. They are wrong, and their being wrong has already cost you years. The empty room is not your condition. Plenty of men live in an empty room and sleep fine. Your condition is that you are still speaking into it. You still address them. Every day. Every decision. There is a version of you that walked out of that room, and there is the version that stayed behind, facing the chairs, still explaining. You are here because you told yourself you stopped needing people, and that sentence has never once closed properly. It sits open in your chest. You rebuild it every few months with better words. Sovereignty, discipline, high standards, focus, and it never seals. And you have stopped asking why. I'm going to tell you why. You are not going to enjoy it. But first, understand what this is not. This is not a video about how strong you are for walking alone. There is no point in the next 15 minutes where I tell you your isolation is a superpower, or that the people who left were beneath you, or that you are the 1% and they are the herd. If that is what you came for, close this. I am not being clever. Close it. There are 400 channels 1 tab away that will hand you that exact feeling for free. You will feel magnificent for 11 minutes. Nothing in your life will change, and you already know this because you have done it before. Many times. This one takes it back. Stay if you want the real reason the room stayed empty. It has your fingerprints on it. So let's find them. Not the feelings, the fingerprints. We are going to go through your life the way an auditor goes through a ledger, and we are going to look for names. Because here is what is true of a man who has actually stopped needing people. His choices have no addressee. He does the thing is done, and it goes nowhere. Yours all have a destination. Everyone. You just never say them out loud, so you have never had to look at the list. Start with the body. You train. Good. Now be precise. When the shape finally changes, whose face is the one you picture seeing it? There is one. It is not a crowd. It is one specific face. It has a name, and you thought of the name before I finished the sentence. The money. Not what it buys. Where it gets announced. There is a room in your head where the number lands. A table. A holiday. A group chat you walked out of. The money is not for freedom. If it were for freedom, you would have spent it already on something quiet. The discipline. The 5 a.m. The cold water. The not drinking. Ask the honest version of the question. Would you keep any of it if you knew, with certainty, that no one would ever find out you did it? Not whether it would still be good for you. Would you keep it? That is a different question. And you already know the answer. Because it is the reason your streaks break in the weeks nobody is watching. And the work itself, the thing you are building. Ask why the deadline sits on the date it sits on. It is not the market. It is not the money. It is a date by which someone specific would have to see it. That is the ledger. Every line has a name on it. Now the silence. This is the part you are proudest of. You stopped telling people your plans. You went quiet. And the internet handed you a beautiful reason for it. Talking leaks energy. Announcing kills ambition. The dopamine of telling replaces the doing. It is a good theory. It is not your reason. You went quiet because a reveal needs an audience, and warning people ruins the reveal. That is the entire mechanism. You are not conserving energy. You are protecting a surprise. Discipline and stagecraft look identical from the outside. Only one of them needs someone in the seats. And here is how you find out which one you are running. You have rehearsed the conversation. You know exactly what you will say when they ask what you have been doing. You have chosen the words. You have chosen the tone. Casual, slightly bored, like it cost you nothing. You have imagined where you would be standing. You have imagined their face doing the thing their face would do. Some of you have rehearsed it in the car, out loud. A man who does not need witnesses does not rehearse. There is nothing to rehearse. There is no scene. Seneca wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. He meant fear. It works the same for hope. The scene you keep running has never happened once, and it is quietly setting your alarm, choosing your meals, and deciding what you are allowed to be proud of. So no, you did not leave that room. You moved to the back of it. You turned off the light above your own chair. And you have been standing there in the dark for years, facing the same empty seats, working very hard, waiting for the door to open and for someone to finally look up. It has a name. The room you are still performing in, the seats you keep speaking toward. It is called the Phantom Gallery. A gallery is not an audience. An audience is present. A gallery is the architecture that held one. The seats, the rows, the shape of the space, all of it still standing long after everybody went home. That is what you built. You did not keep the people. You kept the seating. They are not in your life. Most of them have not thought about you in years. One or two of them are dead, and they are still the ones you clear things with. Every time you decide whether something you did was enough, you run it past a row of faces that is not there. You do not have a solitude problem. You have an occupancy problem. The room is empty and fully booked, and you did not choose who sits in it. Nobody does. A gallery fills itself with whoever reached you at the age you were least able to argue back. Now the harder part, how it got built. You believe you chose this, that at some point you looked at the people around you, ran the numbers, and made a decision to walk. That is the story. You have told it enough times that it has worn smooth. Here is the test. Chosen solitude has a door. That is the only real difference. A man who chose it can go back whenever he likes. He simply does not want to. The door stays unlocked and unused. Try yours. Name one person you could call tonight. Not tomorrow. Tonight. And say the words, "I am struggling," with nothing to show. No update. No progress. No proof that the struggling is temporary and productive and headed somewhere. You are searching right now, and you are finding candidates, not answers. You are finding people you could call if you had a reason. That is not a door. That is a wall with a door painted on it. So you did not choose this. You were left, and then you went back and wrote the justification. That is retroactive solitude, and it is the most convincing lie you will ever tell, because every word of it is technically true. You are self-reliant. You are disciplined. You do not need them. You just never decided any of it. You ratified it. Afterward. And here is what I am not going to do next. I'm not going to tell you to get up and use this. This hurts. It is supposed to hurt. Sit in it for a moment instead of converting it into fuel the way you convert everything else. But be precise about what hurts. It is not that they left. You handled the leaving. You handled that years ago. What hurts is that you are still building for people who are not coming to look. Every hour, every early morning, everything you refused yourself. A payment on a debt to a room that emptied a long time ago. Owed to creditors who wrote you off, moved on, and would not recognize the number if you held it up in front of them. That is the bill you have been paying. Nobody sent it. You have never missed a month. So let's talk about payment. You cannot dissolve the gallery. Those seats are load-bearing. They went in early, and they went in deep. And the men who claim they tore them out are usually just performing for a different row. You do not empty the room. You stop performing in it. Which means you need the real definition of sovereignty. You have carried the wrong one for years. It is not the absence of witnesses. You have had that. You have had years of that. And it made you worse, not better. Sovereignty is finishing something no one will ever see, and feeling exactly the same as if they had. Everything else is decoration. So here is the test. This month, build one thing that has no reveal, no post, no mention, no moment where it comes out, no circled date when it gets seen. You do the work is finished, and it goes into the dark and stays there. Most of you will find that almost physically difficult. Notice the difficulty instead of pushing through it. That resistance is the meter reading. That is the size of the debt. Because if you cannot do it, you were never independent. You were on delay. Waiting is not the same as not needing. There is a longer document behind this. It did not fit inside 18 minutes, so it is in the description. It is not required reading, and you are not ready for most of it. Now the mechanics. 4 laws. This is the only list in this video. 1. The unwitnessed rep. One thing every week that no human being will ever know about. Not private as in unposted. Private as in unreported. Permanently. It dies with you. This is how you rebuild the ability to value something without a second opinion. 2. The ask. Once a month, you make one real request of one human being before you have anything to show. No trophy. No update. Nothing that makes you look like a man who is nearly there. And I know what just happened in your chest. So be honest about which direction the cowardice actually runs. Staying sealed is not the hard road. Staying sealed is the guaranteed one. Nobody can decline a request you never make. Nobody can look at you with that particular face. You built an entire architecture to avoid a 30-second conversation. And then, you called the architecture strength. Holding out your hand with nothing in it to someone who is completely free to leave it there. That is the heaviest load your ego will ever carry. You have not lifted it in a decade. The muscle did not disappear. It atrophied. And atrophy is the one kind of damage that reverses. 3. The deleted reveal. Write the announcement. All of it. The exact words, the exact tone, the one you have already rehearsed. Then delete it, and do not send it. You will find out which part of the project you actually wanted. 4. The roll call. Say the names out loud. Alone. In the car, if you like. That is where you rehearsed anyway. Not to forgive them. Not to summon them. To make them finite. A named gallery is a list of people. An unnamed gallery is the entire world. You cannot dismiss a thing you refuse to name. And you have refused for a very long time. Marcus Aurelius wrote that when you have done good, and another has received it, you should not go looking, the way fools do, for a third thing. The credit. He was not describing generosity. He was describing the end of a performance. That is where you are going. And you need to know what it looks like when you get there. Because it is not going to look like victory. So let me tell you how this ends, because every other version of this video lies to you right here. They come back. That part is true. It nearly always happens. The numbers move. The body changes. Something you built gets noticed by a stranger. And the seats start to fill again. The friend who was too busy. The relative who asked when you were getting a real job. The one who left when it was thin. It will not be dramatic. It will be a message on a Tuesday. Hey, stranger. It will be an invitation to something you were not invited to for 6 years. It will be your name in somebody's mouth again. And they will say, I always knew we would make it. I am so proud of us. They will insert themselves into a story they were never in, smiling, sincere, remembering it wrong. Now, the version of this you have heard 100 times tells you to become a wall of glass. Let them see you. Do not let them touch you. Polite indifference. Cold. Listen carefully, because this is the entire thing. A wall of glass is still a wall you built for them. You measured the height. You chose the material. You stood there on the day and executed a response you had prepared months in advance. Coldness is not freedom. Coldness is a reaction, and a reaction is proof that something reached you. A man rehearsing his revenge is still rehearsing. Here is the real ending, and it is much quieter than you want it to be. They come back, and it does not register. Not because you are hard, because the seat they are sitting in is not load-bearing anymore. You hear them. You answer them normally, and 30 minutes later, you are back at your desk, and you notice, with something close to disappointment, that you have already stopped thinking about it. That is the graduation, not the revenge, the indifference that cost you nothing to produce. And I know exactly what you are doing right now. You are telling yourself you are the exception, that you do not build for anyone, that you simply like winning, you simply like the work. And this was interesting, but it was about other men. Notice that you had to argue. No one defends himself against a thing that is not true of him. 15 minutes ago, I described a phone turned face down on a table, and you have not fully put it down since. So here is the last instruction, and it is the smallest one in this video. Tonight, look at the empty chair beside you. It is not a throne waiting for you to grow into it. It is not a monument to what they cost you. It is not a symbol of anything. It is a chair. The day you can look at it and feel nothing is the day the room finally closes, and the work becomes yours for the first time since you started. The rest of the file is in the description and the pinned comment. You do not need witnesses. You need a verdict you can sign alone. Subscribe if you intend to be honest with yourself again tomorrow.